Google.
Okay.
In fact, I'm gonna open up another window because on this particular window, I can't see anybody who's making comments, and hopefully it is live as it is intended to be, just to see if anybody wanted to make comments. Because this is something new I was gonna try. I originally I was doing that no old white guys, but that kind of fizzled out. Um,
Why no old white guys?
huh?
Why no old white guys?
Well, at most conferences, most people when they think of atheism, they think of Hitchens and Harris and Dawkins and Penn Jillette and a bunch of old white guys. And there's not a lot of familiar faces that aren't old white guys. And I wanted to basically, and coming from an old white guy, I wanted to highlight people who weren't
Hmm.
basically. Um,
Well,
and
I
I
mean,
and
I
I, and
don't.
I got some flack for the name. People
Mhm,
saying, "Oh, you're a self hater." I'm like, not at all.
mhm.
But people are strange.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, man. And I talk about this. I talked about this a little bit on my uh podcast when I used to have a stream. I don't really stream too much anymore, but when I did,
Wait, you did this
it,
weekend.
huh?
You did this weekend.
What'd you say?
You did this weekend.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was trying to get back into it, but to no avail. But um, when I was kind of getting into it and whatnot, I think that I told a story one time about a white dude at the Reason rally who wanted to apologize to me for being white. And that was when I had knew that, the we had jumped the shark in this conversation.
Yeah,
There's too many people using the online medium as a way to kind of throw these hollow attacks at people they don't care to know and or understand.
yeah,
And it's so intellectually lazy, some of the conversations that I see specifically from Black people about the topic of racism, that it's almost shameful that a lot of these people call themselves, experts in the conversation or experts in the dialogue or sympathizers or allies in the dialogue. You're not an ally to shit. You're playing the fucking game like everybody else is playing the game to put points up on the board against conservatives. Or if that's what you want to do as a liberal, then that's what you're doing. Or if you're a conservative, then you're putting points up on the board against liberals. Like it's time that not we, I don't give a fuck anymore. I call it out the way that it is. If you're a liberal trying to put points up on the board against conservatives, then I really don't want anything to do with you, nor would I want to have anything to do with a conservative who wants to just put points up on the board against a liberal. So um, to me, it's just like the conversation is inherently dishonest and intellectually lazy, to say the least, when it comes to race and the conversations that I see Black people having about race.
yeah. I agree. And personally, I wish it stopped being about race. I It's this division that people want to focus on rather than focus on actual issues.
Mm-hmm.
They want to focus on our side and their side, and which is, I think, a truism for humanity. We always want to be, our group and their group, but
Mm-hmm.
especially the atheist community, you think that there'd be more uniformity. There- People, are battling the same battle rather
But I
than
don't
we'll
think
have
they
this.
are, and that's
No,
and I don't think I hate to interrupt you, but I don't think
yeah,
that they are. This
no,
is
they're
where I
definitely not.
find that the go ahead.
No, they're definitely not. That's the division of groups is nobody feels. This is my viewpoint. It seems people don't feel inclusive, therefore they create their own group separately, which
Mm-hmm.
basically feeds into the feeling of, non-inclusivity.
Tribalism.
Yeah.
Right. Well, here, but there is points. There are reasons why people were kind of going in that direction. And specifically, here's the thing. When I created Grand Unified, and Grand Unified kind of took off as kind of just a collective or a community or whatnot, there was no race. It wasn't Black Grand Unified. It wasn't white Grand Unified. It wasn't male Grand Unified. It wasn't female Grand Unified. It wasn't even liberal or progressive Grand Unified. It was Grand Unified. And it was a top-down structure of leadership, if you will, from myself to try to let people know that, listen, not everybody here is going to agree. But what we will do is have an open forum, an open space for dialogue and debate. And there are no ideas that are out of bounds. There are no topics that are off limits. And you're not going to just, shout someone down by calling them a racist or a sexist or a misogynist on this side of the fence. You may be able to get away with doing that on your side of the fence, but you ain't getting away with that over here, because you have to defend your ideas over here.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do that, then you can be on your way. And that's fine. A lot of people, we have a open door policy. People come and go as they please. And if you are the type of person that feels like, what we're doing or how we challenge you to defend your ideas is no longer suitable for you, then, hey, I wish you well. Go on and about your business and we'll go on about ours. But I feel like there's so much echo chamber reinforcement when it comes to these communities. And this is all communities, white, Black, Christian, Muslim, whatever. There's echo chambers where it's going to reinforce the way you think and how you view the world. Well, I tried to create an environment within Grand Unified where inherently you had people within it who disagreed with certain points that you may have. And your goal was to learn how to interact with those people. You learn how to come to terms with those people so that we all, as trans intellectualists, can help propel humanity towards type 1. And that was my goal. But see, atheism really, as a community, didn't have a goal. And the reason why it didn't have a goal was because there was no leader.
Yeah.
And I think a part of atheism, and in the, a lot of atheists, we kind of took pride in the whole statement of, it's kind of like herding cats, because there were so many different people and ideals, which was cute in the beginning, but now you're seeing the actual division.
Yeah. Now that we're a big enough group and we can see those separate groups.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the point I'll say before I throw it back to you is, a part of that came from a non-exclusivity from the white atheist establishment. That did come from that. But how people reacted to it were just as stupid as the quote unquote white atheist establishment who was putting together these conventions, which is why I want to go into another topic, which you're talking about, why atheists don't want to go to conventions anymore. And a part of it was, I looked at it and saw that it was cool for people to peddle my music. But when it came to actually inviting me there to perform, there were so many politics and backroom things going on that apparently, Greydon Square wasn't allowed. For instance, right? Like, atheists like to talk about how morally superior they are to Christians, right? Or theists in general.
Yeah.
And the idea of forgiveness is somehow thrown completely. It's like a zero tolerance policy. If you do anything in the secular community, that's it, you're done. That's it, you're done. I've seen so many good people who misspoke, who didn't have fleshed out ideas, who had young ideas, immature ideas that they were just trying to figure out, and have the whole liberal and progressive community come down on them like a bunch of bitches. And it's like, oh, you're weak for that, like, straight up. And I think a part of that came from the fact that there was intimidation by a new look and a new attitude towards atheism. I'm not from middle America white society. I'm from Compton, the West Side, where there's a bunch of gangs.
Yeah.
And guess what? I have a different view on how to approach religion and, politics and all of that stuff. And I feel like my particular idea wasn't considered. It wasn't welcomed. But that didn't mean I wanted more division within the community. I just felt like the approach was wrong. And the fact that there was no actual leadership, there was no actual goals so that people can decide, hey, I'm with this idea or I'm not. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, you got a bunch of cats running around, literally.
Well, I'm smiling because I was at the not gateway to the Reason rally, the last Reason rally, and I firsthand experienced a lot of these backroom discussions and
I know.
some
I've been
backstab,
told about
just a lot of, you know, I felt bad. I was there and I'm like, why are we doing this way? It just, Joey Kirkman, I know, really got the shaft, and he just threw his hands up and said, "The hell with the whole thing. I want nothing more to do with any of it." And even the show I was doing, No Old White Guys,
right.
I changed the name to Atheist Diversity Highlight because I wanted to get away from it being not about white people, because people going, "Why won't you talk to white people?" I'm like,
Well,
I'm
think
not
about it
about.
this way. But there are real things, there are real issues in that. There are real issues in that. And like for instance, like they had so much issue with my rap, but didn't mind, because they were afraid of black rappers up there cursing when they had Tim Mitchum up there cursing and swearing up a storm. You see, like we never got paid.
Yeah,
When
comedy.
Tombstone went up there and
Yeah,
yeah, when Tombstone went up there and performed in front of 30,000 people in the previous Reason rally, he didn't get paid for that, while other speakers did. And I'm not trying to put my brother's business out there on the
yeah,
street. I'm just
yeah.
saying, like at the end of the day, we took a lot of sacrifices being black atheists. And that particular aspect is what created the people now who are talking about how, the white atheists are an all white thing. But I know better because I know people within that community. And I know that when I came into that community, white, black, male, female, there were people who welcomed me with open arms and didn't care about the fact that I was a black kid from Compton who was questioning religion through rap.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care about that. And so I didn't care about that they couldn't identify with my experience. I really didn't mind that we were seeing things from two different experiences. So there is a big proponent in that. There's a
Yeah.
big factor in that. But I do feel like it went so far the other direction, because I noticed it when I started seeing the divisions of, the gay secular groups and the black secular groups and the this secular group and then that secular group. It's like, you guys are missing the point, but okay, good luck with that.
And it's been imploding nonstop. I think the Reason rally was, I don't want to say a clusterfuck, but it kind of was. One of the conferences that I really highlights to me is Skepticon, which has turned into a social justice warrior, free for all. That everybody is just, it's got their panties in a wad, and nobody can accept anybody, and everyone's complaining about everybody, and just it's everybody wants to I don't want to say pretend. Everyone wants to make a big show about being accepting while not really being accepting.
Well, it's virtue signaling, right? It's the virtue signaling on the left that people on the right bring up so much, and they're goddamn accurate about it. This is the problem. No one gives a shit about your virtue signaling in the real world. Only in these academic circles and these conventions does anybody give a shit. That's why they do that, because they're free to do that there. Because in the real world, well, it used to be in that way. I don't know what the hell's going on now, but you weren't really rewarded for throwing those type of temper tantrums, if you will. And now throwing temper tantrums is rewarded, especially on the left, which is why I stopped identifying with the left. I stopped associating with the left, because at the end of the day, the hypocrisy of a group that basically is acting like they're accepting, meanwhile, basically saying that certain groups should just shut up and recognize their privilege as if they don't have anything to contribute to the conversation. It's stupid. You look retarded. You look dumb. You make people want to unretire words like faggot. That's the problem. We're
Yeah.
going backwards.
Yes, definitely.
And if we don't want to go backwards, I really suggest that people really start looking at how they're doing shit, because at the end of the day, you know, they're going to get what they're asking for. I just don't know if they realize what they're asking for.
Well, I'm a person who I get it wrong most of the time. I fully admit that. And I say a lot of things. I say what I'm thinking. And it always amazes me when somebody jumps on me and says, "You're wrong. You're wrong. Just shut up. You're wrong. We don't want to hear from you." Like, I started off what I said with, "I want to understand. This is what I think. I want to know if I'm wrong." And instead of people saying, "Well, this is why you're wrong," they just jump all over me and like, "Shut up. You're an asshole." And I just,
Well, to
it's,
be honest with you, let's talk about something else too,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
I got a call, and this is the part of me that, you know, I don't really have a career, so I can
yeah.
say whatever I want. At the end of the day, it's not like anything's gonna really happen to me. But white dudes, y'all got to stop being such pussies to the left. Like the left be punking y'all straight up, and white dudes be going for it, and
Give an
I don't
example.
understand it. Y'all straight up get bullied by the progressive and liberal left. And to be honest with you, they'll push you as long as you allow yourselves to be pushed. You know,
I,
I'm talking to everybody out there straight up. Like a lot of these dudes, especially on the side of urban lifestyle, like to pretend that they're big and tough. And you put the fire to them, and all of a sudden, it's like you realize that this is still nature. Anybody can get it. So there is an attitude that I've noticed of this, like this passive beta, like, oh, I'm always wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Everything is
let's,
I'm
that's,
sorry. I don't
yeah,
mean to be offensive.
yeah.
And I
That's
don't
one
really
thing I
notice
don't
that
do.
amongst black dudes.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Mexicans
yeah,
and Latino dudes. I see that amongst white dudes.
yeah. Well, that's one thing I don't apologize. I say, well, such is life. I'm wrong. C'est la vie. Um, and I back down just because I'm not interested in fighting about something with somebody who just wants to yell and scream at me. Um, but no, it's true. The apologetics of people just sorry for everything. We just everything's I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I hate that myself. Um, but I guess especially with white people, white men especially, is
Mm-hmm.
I guess in a way we're pussy whipped. We've been trained to not stand up. It's like this whole thing with this with boys in general. Teach your boys to be a
Mm-hmm.
man. This constant, you got to, all your boys are all wimpy. Teach them how to be a man rather than teaching them to be a person. So they think they
Mm-hmm.
got to be a man, and then they're saying, "Don't be a man, be a person." Then they go like, "I don't know what to do. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I do is wrong. I don't know what to do. I'm just sorry." Um, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of it. Just they just don't know how to respond anymore. They're so confused with what they think they should be versus what the reaction is to that. They're confused and don't know what to do.
Well, how could you not be confused when you have multiple signals, multiple messages coming at you each direction? I mean,
Yes.
the thing is we are playing, there's two different games going on. One's not actually a game. The other one is. And I said this on one of my albums a long time ago, Society versus Nature. Um, we are playing a game of society on top of a game called nature.
Mm-hmm.
In nature, there is value in being a man. I know in society, the value and the worth of being a man is diminishing and being eroded day by day. And we can get into a discussion as to why
Yeah.
that is. But in nature, there's no question. Being a man is valuable.
Yes.
And there's so many people in society who's trying to beat that out of people, beat that out of boys. And you have a lot of fatherless homes and
Yes.
single mother homes that are raising boys into be basically, persons instead of men. So you got a lot of persons walking around here, but very few men. And then those same women will complain, we're the real men. How come men won't step up? Well, you guys are winning all the custody cases, right? You're winning
Yeah.
all the custody disputes. So who's raising these boys?
Yeah. Well,
It
thing
ain't
in
us.
nature, yeah, in nature, it's there's a clear advantage to being strong. There's a clear advantage to being aggressive. There's a clear advantage to what makes men men. But
Mm-hmm.
in society, we all want to play that we keep wanting to move towards everybody being equal. And men are
Towards
being
what? I'm
told you
sorry, say
can't,
that again. Say that again.
I said in nature, a man, there's advantage to be male, being
Mm-hmm.
aggressive. But in society, there's this push for everyone to be equal. Men and women to be
Right, but
equal.
if men
Everybody
in
wants on the
society
same
weren't, but if
footing.
right, but if men in society weren't willing to be such pussies and such pushovers, then that narrative's not going to go very far. The problem is the weakness in men and the comfort that we have in society. We're too comfortable.
Yeah.
There's too many creature comforts here. So there's no reason to be a strong man. There's no reason to have to channel your masculinity when you don't have to do anything masculine.
Mm-hmm.
So of course people are trying to make it equal and whatever that bullshit idea is. There's no such thing as equal. Never has been, never will be.
No,
Some
I know.
people are tall, some people are short. Some people got big dicks, some people got small dicks. Some people got big brains, some people got little brains. At the end of the day, you will never make this shit equal.
Yeah.
Liberal.
But that's the trouble is the uniformity. Instead of taking advantage of people's strengths, we are focusing on people's weaknesses, and we are making everything boil down to the lowest common denominator. To make everyone equal, we're making everybody less, rather than focusing on those who are strong and have skills or whatever, that are better at doing particular jobs. We want to lower the requirements so that everybody can do them.
Right. And when you see the value and the quality of the job diminish and that industry suffer because of that, hey, listen, I'm all for accountability. Even if that means that you are accountable for the shitty choices that you make on a societal and civilizational level, then that means that you're responsible. Listen, if you keep diluting this pool from which you draw talent to the point where there's no more real talent and everybody's the same, most people are going to check out of society. Most
Yes.
people are just going to emotionally and financially check out.
And
They're not going
we've
to contribute. Like, listen, I'm not trying to throw anybody's business out in the street. I'll speak in the most vaguest terms. But watching people's experiences with families and custody disputes and all that shit and marriages and all that shit made me not want to get involved.
Oh, me too.
So the courts and how they've treated people that I've watched who are good men, good fathers, have made decisions that prevent me from having children. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm one of those people. I saw the same bullshit, and I wanted no part of it. And unfortunately, I walked right into it. I got set up.
Yeah.
And then when
I'm walking in.
my wife left, and she part of it was the lawyer, but she wanted full custody. And I said, hell no.
Of course,
I
you
mean,
wanted full custody.
I will spend every dime to give it to a lawyer to keep that from happening. Fortunately, I didn't have to, and my ex-wife saw reason and saw value in having a father figure, because most of her sisters, I mean, not most of them, but half of her sisters, their kids don't have fathers, and they're nice kids, but the boys are just they're duds. I mean, they are
Right.
not. They're duds. They have no. I don't want to say self-worth, but they have like no identity as a man. I mean, they are
Right.
just automatons. I mean, they don't know what it is to be a man. They're just a person.
But why? How could they know what it is to be a man when any sign they show of masculinity is met with negativity
Yeah.
and beration by the
Yes.
society that they live in? I
And
mean, you simply can't. The only, and this is why I tell people all the time, like, The gangbanging shit obviously wasn't the best choice because I didn't have a father. But guess
Yeah.
what? I didn't have a mother either.
Yeah.
So knowing those people and growing up around those people taught me a certain level of masculinity. Maybe I don't have a very, channeled feminine side because I didn't grow up with females like that. But I did see men taking care of business when they had to. When, these are the same men that people call monsters and absentees who were there for their children. They had sons and daughters that they would return for and, try to support and financially be there for. It was in most cases the women of those communities that used those children as pawns in order to keep those men away, in order to play those men.
View says makes a good point. In modern society, physical strength is no longer really needed, and that was the point that in nature it is needed, and that's why there's clearly defined masculinities in nature and society. But it's not about physical strength.
Right.
It's I shouldn't say it's not just about physical strength. It's
not about physical strength if you're small.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a horse in that race, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's almost like, and I understand what you're saying. Right? I'm not saying that you're saying this, but like the way we're trying to make things equal is to eliminate competition between people that you look at and say they don't have any way to compete against each other, or it's not fair competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, like,
so they're trying to create weight classes in society.
Yes. I mean, that's, jobs that, are typically male jobs, and women want to do that job, but, they don't have, and that's not true of all women, but some women and some men don't have the physicality to do a certain job. So instead of hiring only the people who have the physicality to do the job, they lower the requirements of the job to make it a weak job so that everyone can do it.
And to be honest with you, it's not like everyone actually carries their own weight in those situations. In a lot of those situations, like I was in the military, I saw that the requirements for what women were asked to do and the weight that they were asked to carry was a different requirement than the males. Like you see the way that this happens. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That's the way society is. But there is a different standard in which they're presented with. And if a person doesn't recognize that, then ultimately they're seeing the world through their own colored lenses.
Well, the other trouble is people want to see, all men are one way and all women are another way, where there's women who are as strong as any man and there's men who are weak as any woman.
Okay, well, I challenge you on that. I challenge that. There aren't women who are strong as any man. There's a few women who are exceptionally strong compared to men of their size, but there is no woman out there that's as big as Arnold. Let's stop telling that lie.
Okay,
let's stop saying shit like that.
I admit I exaggerate, but I mean, on
that's
average,
the bullshit that we're talking about. That's that soft, subservient shit that they want to hear you say. Fuck that. Fuck that PC bullshit.
I meant more of the average, not the extraordinary. There's a I'm trying to think of the example, but it's actually a trans woman who's male, so I guess it doesn't really count. But I mean, if we look at the average person, not the extraordinary, bodybuilders, the big hulking guys, but the average guy, there's a lower percentage of women, but there's like I'm your average, well above average 6 foot guy, and I know plenty of 6 foot women who have an equal strength as I do, an equal physicality as I do.
Really? Do you weight train?
No.
Do you weight train, Tom?
I do not.
Okay, if you weight train, would that statement hold true? If you weight trained,
probably not.
Okay.
But I'm talking if I were to go for a job that required my physical strength that I have now.
Firefighter.
No, that's a job that requires more strength than I have. I'm not qualified to be a firefighter.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, is if I had a
Oh,
job, a physicality of someone of my generic, non-working out self.
mhm.
There's women who are equal to that. So I should have no advantage being a man, just in that sense. Now, if I worked out, I could definitely be stronger than any woman.
But you're
If
not
I worked
taking
out,
into, but you're not taking into the account of your evolutionary biological makeup. You have 30% more bone mass and
yeah,
strength than, let's say, the average female does have. You were designed to take more physical punishment in nature than the female was. So yeah, you may
yeah.
not be,
But that's
you
but
guys
like I
may
said,
be equal in physical strength,
that's
but you
but
guys
that's in
evolved.
yeah, but that's in nature.
Right.
Now, if like firefighter, perfect example. A firefighter, a guy of my size who was working out to be a firefighter, definitely is better qualified than any woman of equal size, height wise, and body build, because
Mm-hmm.
for the exact reasons that you said. So rather than taking the requirements, to make everything equal, rather than taking the requirements for a guy to be strong, they lower the requirements so the guy would be more like me, so a woman could equally compete.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where society is failing.
Well,
Instead of taking the best, we're trying to lower the requirements so everyone can have a shot at it, even though they're not really qualified. I mean, I see this in schools all the time, where instead of making smart kids, we're focusing on those who are the least likely to pass and lowering the requirements so that they can pass, so everybody can pass. Everybody's a winner. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a ribbon. And that's we're crumbling because of that. And that's where society
well,
is.
the question then becomes: is society designed to, right? I guess the question is society designed to emulate nature or to oppose it?
Currently, it's opposing nature. It's
Right.
going against nature. It is. We've gone so far to being civilized. We are destroying the very thing that created us. But that's true in
Right.
every aspect. I mean,
Right.
every
And I would, and I would to even piggyback on that. Yeah, to even piggyback on that, and I do agree with your point that we have gotten to the point where certain things that evolved out of nature is now being actively fought against and basically uh, countered with societal conditioning that ultimately is going to have negative effects. It's almost like the idea of the nice guy, right? Like we're told our whole lives as boys, oh, just be the nice guy. The girls like nice guys. Oh, nice guy, nice guy. But guess what? Girls don't fuck nice guys. That's nature. You know why? You can't punk a nice guy. You can't steal from a nice guy. You ain't running up on no nice dude. You know what I'm saying? Like ultimately, if you're looking at and I mean that towards the dude that you can't do that to, but if
yeah,
you're talking about someone out there who's nice but can defend themselves tough, ultimately they're not really nice. They put on a nice facade, but they're
yeah,
tough. If
yeah.
you tell me somebody who's nice, I'm feel like, hey, I could take you too nice. You're too nice for nature.
Yes, nice does not survive in nature.
No. And ultimately she knows you're not running up on the dude who's the asshole. You're not running up on the dude who's not nice. You're not, you can't take from his resources. You can't, run up in his kingdom like that. So the
It,
idea where it's like, well, be nice, society will reward you for being nice. That's not how you survive in nature.
no, in nature, those who get are those who take, and that's how it is even in society. But we're
In society.
trying to train
Yeah.
everyone to basically go out with a handout. Be nice and put your hand out, and you'll get. And we're
Yeah.
feeding into
And that's
that
all good and
mentality.
well until society breaks down. As long as
Yeah,
you have society, yeah. Well, it's interesting because as long as you have society, you can do that, right? As long as society's around and as long as the state's around to make sure that you keep providing people with free shit, then ultimately it's like you're going to get that type of system where it's like just put your hand out, don't really work or compete for anything because that's not how the society works. Society, the way that they're trying to make it is, everyone's equal, so no one has to compete.
Are you familiar with the movie Idiocracy?
Am I familiar with what?
The movie Idiocracy.
Yeah, I am.
And that movie focused on more people just becoming stupid, but it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. We're creating the next generation. We already have one generation of people who think they can just put their hand out and receive because, hell,
Mm-hmm.
they're worth everything. They don't have to work for anything. They're already worth it. They don't have to show themselves to be, worthy of doing any job. They should just be giving it to them. And we're already working on the next generation of those kind of people. I mean, I know I'm struggling
Well,
with my daughter too. You got to work for a living. You can't expect things. You have to actually go out and accomplish something. You have to ask for it. You have to work for it. You can't just sit back and wait for it to be given to you. And so many kids,
right.
I see all my
These are
nephews, they just
examples of accountability, right?
yeah.
And in my opinion, this yeah, absolutely. And this is the part of accountability that I feel like that you normally get from your father, right? You get your nurturing from your mother, you get your nurturing and emotional support when you're a very young kid. Oh, I love those jerseys. When from your mother, and you get your discipline and your accountability from your father traditionally, right? Obviously there are different cultures and societies that do different things, but traditionally that was the makeup of the family. Well, if you remove the father from the family, which a lot of people have, a lot of households have, and then on top of that, because the woman then has to work as a single mother, they're being raised by daycare and the whatever that shit is. Like, this is the big problem that I had, because I got into an argument with some lady about, like, what's wrong with raising your kids in daycare, what's wrong with having your kids in daycare. I wouldn't do it, me personally. If I don't have a woman to be at home with my child in those formative years, then
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be with a woman to have a child, straight
Mm-hmm.
up. That's just me. But there are other people who feel a different way. They feel like, well, I don't care. Like, I don't have to be there in those years. Ultimately, if it's another person there who I trust emotionally and I trust, then, let them do it. And to be honest with you, that happens in a lot of situations where you have wealth, where there are nannies and midwives and stuff like that. So it's not just, one side. You get that on the other side as well. But I feel like there is because the removal of the father is so prevalent in these communities that you're discussing and that you're talking about, it makes it real easy for people to become complacent and not look at accountability and discipline as things that they actually need in life. Because the mothers of the societies really, or the mothers of these communities, don't teach them that, because they don't have to be held accountable. there's programs that protect them from hard bottom.
Mm-hmm. And men typically, I mean, I fought with my ex on how we raise our child. She wanted to give our daughter everything. She would spend every dime to give her because I was supplying, because my wife didn't have to work. I supplied the income, so she had no worries. To her, whereas a man earning the income, I was a constant fight. This constant fight to go to work
Mm-hmm.
and earn a living. I was at battle all the time, and she was in the background, you know, on the cushy cloud of not having to be responsible for anything other than spend time with our daughter. And that's true. We try to protect society from the hard bottom, but in that, kids are not exposed to what it means to actually fight for or struggle to survive. And or those
Mm-hmm.
that do have to struggle are way out of proportion to what it should be. I have what I would say is considered a normal struggle, having to go to work, having to make sure I'm responsible for paying the bills, responsible for everything. Um, I'm responsible for everything, so I have to be constantly vigilant. I have to fight for it.
And you know
I'm
what?
not
Let me
handed
put this
anything.
in context. Let me put that example in the proper context, which you just described. You felt like you had to provide, protect, for your family, for your daughter, and theoretically, if you had a son, he would watch that example and say, hey, my dad was like this. I want to be like my dad. I want to earn the respect of my father. I want to make sure that I'm accountable for my family in the way that he is. And it creates this kind of this generational charge on the next generation of young males to be accountable and to be responsible. Well, guess what? That's being removed because the courts are
Yes.
telling people like you're not necessary.
Yes.
You're optional.
Yes.
And then people want to flip out on me for saying I don't want to have kids. Wait, so that I can not see my kids grow up? You fucking crazy.
It became a fight for just to see my daughter. And had I had a son, I'm very proud of the example that I have given. And I think I'm proud with the example I've given my daughter to show what a stand-up guy is. Someone who's willing to fight, somebody who's willing. I did not allow the court system to say you're not needed. I said, screw the court system. This court system is fucked up now. I mean, it is geared towards, I don't even know what the hell it's geared towards. It seems
it's geared towards profit, right? Because think about it. If you're moving, you're moving resources from the primary breadwinner, you're taxing that income.
Yes. Well, I mean, talk to the lawyers. The lawyer's like, oh, it's going to take 3 years to resolve this. They're like, oh, it's not about the money. I'm like, bullshit, it's not about the money.
I need to go be a custody dispute lawyer. That's what I need to go do. That's where the money is.
Yeah. The court system is about paying lawyers. They don't give a fuck about families.
Nope.
And they keep these battles up and penalize the men because they're the ones typically making the money. And
so what happens to men now? Yeah. So let's jump on that. So what happens to men? Men are just going to not make money.
Yeah. They're like, fuck it. Why should I be killing myself?
Yeah.
If it's just to be handed over to someone to,
Yeah. Nah, I'm good. No kids, no wives, no fucking none of that shit. Like, I'm good. Damn, that Clipper jersey looks silly.
Are you shopping?
I'm watching basketball.
I've
been watching the Clippers this whole time.
Well, I figured you were watching something.
Yeah.
You kept talking about the jersey, so I thought maybe you were shopping.
Well, the Clippers, we're not a good organization. We never have been. And we just signed a deal with Bumble, which is hilarious because it's ironic. It's an ironic description of the nature of the organization of the Clippers as a basketball franchise. Uh-huh. Bumble. Literally Bumble. Can't make this shit up. Can't make it up. So what else you got on your list? What else you got on the docket? Let's cover everything. I saw why, how come, would you say black people can be as racist as white people? There was something on there.
Oh, that was, and I don't know if you saw the one about Black History Month. I made a comment that Steve Hill was, or maybe he made a comment I responded to. And I asked my daughter if they did anything for Black History Month. And she was like, what's Black History Month? Mm-hmm. And don't take this the wrong way, but I think Black History Month is kind of like Mother's Day. Mother's Day was designed by someone who, and it could have been this great thing to really acknowledge women who are raising children and having careers and being, fulfilled people, and it turned into this Hallmark holiday. And it seems like.
So let me ask you a question, just out of curiosity. I've always wanted to know this. But which holidays aren't Hallmark holidays?
I'd have to. It seems like they all are. And that was kind of the point with Black History Month. I know the history of it. Well, I know the history pretty well. Not great. It was built in the 60s, and in the 70s it was kind of, I think it was Carter who made it officially Black History Month. But now it's like lip service. Like, it's Black History Month. Well, what about Black History Month? Oh, you don't need to know anything about it. Just know that it is. Mm-hmm. And I find that aggravating that, you're trying to say something, but you've decided, oh, it's already been said, so we don't have to repeat it anymore.
Well, look, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Nice pass. There's a couple of ways to look at this, and in my opinion, one of the many contentious issues on the agenda in today's tumultuous conversation. But Black History Month. There's a video out there of Morgan Freeman talking about Black History Month, and I love it because it shows his confidence as a Black man, right? Like,
Yes.
my worth does not come from the United States of the government telling me I have a month. I know where my worth comes from. I know where, human civilization and the cradle of human civilization is, where human beings came from. All of that stuff will factor into my confidence as a Black male. Don't you worry about me. I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, though, but the over sexualization of the Black male by normalized society, by white society. Honestly, I'm not worried about how confident I feel because the state creates a holiday or a month that's essentially a all month holiday that's supposed to celebrate my history. My history didn't start in the United States. It's not going to end in the United States. So the fact that Black people have so much invested angst and anger about how Black History Month is perceived is laughable, because you shouldn't give it that much credit to begin with. That month is not even for you. I'm talking to Black people. That month ain't, this month, February ain't for you.
And that was kind of my point. And people were very upset by that. Like, well, I'm sorry, that's my view. My view may be wrong, and I was told it was wrong, but that's my view. I love when somebody said, well, that's just your opinion, and your opinion isn't worth shit. It's like, well, that sounds a lot like your opinion. But yeah, well, Morgan Freeman is awesome.
Well,
he was on, I think NBC. Who is he talking to? Some young Black guy.
no, I thought he was talking to a white.
He was being interviewed by somebody, and I talking on my ass because I can't remember it at all. But he basically,
Damn, what is wrong with this connection? Are you getting any like lag or anything like that? Because I'm like, it's hard for me to now.
I am getting lag.
Yeah.
Not sure whose end it's on.
Yeah. I mean, all my stuff's hardwired, so I'm not really sure if that's coming from my end or not. But here's the thing. I mean, the argument a lot of times is so base level that you can't really get to what issues need to be addressed. And to me, the Black community has so many internal issues that worrying about what white people are talking about right now, and we're worried about what white people are doing, is the last thing that we should be worried about, because our community is on life support even now, and we act like everything is hunky dory, and the real conversation is not even being had. They want to have Black Lives Matters and all that kind of bullshit. That's not even a real conversation. Like, I grew up in an age where we were killing each other by the droves, so I don't even want to hear that shit. There wasn't too many people that was out there marching against gang violence and all that type of stuff. In my opinion, we encourage that shit because it's good to try to make people think that we're scary and that we're intimidating, when really most of us are hurt, lonely, afraid, scared, and wondering where the fuck.
You're moving again. I lost that last sentence.
So, but at the end of the day, there's so many charges of racism and sexism. I've been called a misogynist now so many times. I wear it as a badge of honor now. It's like anything I say could be misogynistic. So anything you say can be racist simply because you're a white male, simply because I'm a male. So at the end of the day, fuck it. Fuck everybody. Crackers, niggas, motherfucking bitches. Fuck everybody. Straight up. Liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, blood, Crip, Vice Lord, disciple. Like, I don't give a fuck. Everybody. Fuck everybody. How about that?
For me, it's very strange. White people, typically European, and we have racism against, or at least in like the 50s and 60s, against the Irish, other white people from different countries. But it's like white people are on one end of the spectrum, and then the spectrum goes off into infinity. There's white people that are at the start, and then it just goes on forever in variations of degrees. There is no endpoint. But within the people of color, there's racism on the color range until you get to white, and then white is whatever white is.
Right.
But
Well, which is hilarious because I have an opinion about that as well. Jesus Christ. I have an opinion about that as well, which is if I'm a white man, I would never identify as a white man. Like I would always identify as my, country of origin, history. Like if I'm of French origin, I will always identify as a Frenchman. I will always identify as a French American. I would never say I'm a white American because that, to me, that is a narrative that white people bought.
Yeah.
In order to buy into the narrative that there were black people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is dumb as hell because there are no black people.
Yeah. Exactly.
But black people want to buy it. White people want to buy it. Y'all play that mass game.
I did a video called "I'm a Man of Color," because I'm not white. Hold up a sheet of paper. I mean, here's a white shirt. I'm not white. I'm a man of color.
You are one handsome African.
Yes. Who but more Neanderthal, I think, than the average. I think my father was like 5% Neanderthal. He is a caveman. But I consider myself, and it's always fun. I give blood a lot, or I give platelets. So I go like every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask me what race I am, and I say human. And they always get a chuckle out of that, but it's true. There is only one race of person, human. We are Homo sapiens. We are all Homo sapiens. We aren't Caucasian Homo sapiens. We aren't. I mean, we're different breeds of people. There's obvious, different Asians and different colors of skin. They're typical, but we are a wide range.
Well, there's
of
different genetic differences as well, right? Like
but we have this
there are
attitude
certain
that
genetic primarily Africans that you don't see in Caucasians, and likewise,
But we have this very weird idea that the lighter our skin dictates something about who we are and how valuable we are.
Well,
it's bizarre to me.
It does because that is true. But the question is who all is participating in this game? Because at the end of the day, you can only be affected by the game, the rules of the game in which you choose to play. You don't have to be here, right? Like this world is big enough and has enough remote locations to where you can essentially fall off the face of the earth. So all that shit about institutionalized racism and shit, you motherfuckers fund that shit.
Yeah.
Every black person listening to this right now, every person of color that wants to identify with that shit, you fund that shit. They taking your tax dollars to oppress you.
Yes.
So you don't have to be here.
I think
it's that simple.
Everyone should identify as human. When they say what race are you, just put human. If everybody would put human, maybe racism would end. Here's the funny thing, though.
Whenever I get to write in a race, I put like Borg or Klingon or some shit. I put, dog. I don't put black. Like, you crazy.
Well, I had a friend in college who was South African, and he took great pleasure at black people. Like, this is when political correctness was just getting going, and people want to be African American, and he'd be like, "I am African, bitches."
Right.
I'm actually from Africa. So, but no, I just, this whole focus on color is bizarre to me, and I just happen to be on the
it's almost like
where. Go on.
No, you good.
No, I said I happen to be on the end of the spectrum that is considered. I don't want to say the ideal, but it's like everybody wants to get lighter. I was making the point that there's a lot of Asians, Indians, they like don't go out in the sun. If they tell their daughters, don't go out in the sun because the lighter your skin, the more you're worth to a prospective man. Whoever we find for you, we'll get more for you if your skin's lighter. And there's skin bleaching, and there's Michael Jackson's a good example of he went from being black to white, which
Mm.
is
Well, here's the
weird
funny
enough
thing
it is.
about that.
But
And this,
but white
this,
people go out
mm,
of the way to make themselves darker. I mean, white people have spray on
mm,
tans. I mean, it just white people are focused on getting their skin darker, and dark skinned people are focusing to get lighter.
mm.
Not all, but enough that it's
Right. Well, trust me, I'm not. You don't have to worry about me interpreting your words for offense. We ain't playing those type of liberal verbal Olympic judo
yeah.
gymnastics bullshit that they do. Nah, we ain't doing that. I understand what you mean. And at the end of the day, it's like I always say this, when it comes to the whole white privilege and shit. It's like I don't care what white privilege you tell me about. I'd never trade in my genetics for white privilege, if that's what you think that is. Now, if you have an issue with being, quote unquote, oppressed in an institutionalized or in institutionally oppressive society, then you have two choices: participate or leave.
Yeah.
But make no mistake about it. When you're here, you're participating in that oppression through tax dollars. You're participating in that, the bombing campaigns and the drone campaigns, all those motherfuckers who voted for Obama. And I voted for him the first time, so I got blood on my hands too. But make no mistake about it, you are participating in that.
Yeah. It always amazes me, and this is true all over the place. People so willing to stay where they are and complain to hell high water how bad it is where they are, but yet they'll fight to stay there. I mean, when we talk
Oh
about
yeah,
like places like West
you ask
Virginia.
any black person who believes in institutionalized racism, you ask them, hey, would you move somewhere else outside of America? They wouldn't. If you just asked them, like, hey, well, where would you plan to move outside of America? Most of them wouldn't even have a country they would go to.
Well, unfortunately, there's plenty of places to go that are even worse.
And there are places to go that are better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think America is the greatest country on the
No,
planet.
not for a long
And even
time.
if I did, like, I don't think that everybody would think that. It's for me or the person of that person doesn't mean that it would be the greatest place for you. And you have the ability to get a passport, book a
And
trip somewhere, fly to that place, burn your passport, take all the American Western money that you got, and buy a little business there and stay there.
well,
It
I
is
think
not.
it's a strange thing in human nature. I was bringing up the example of West Virginia, the coal mine workers who
Mhm.
are unwilling to move from West Virginia, even though all the coal mines are being closed, and they're complaining how the coal mine owners have taken advantage of them and have worked them to death and have left them dry. And yet they stay there. They refuse to leave. For what? I think it's human nature that no matter how bad it gets,
Could always get
they're
worse.
unwilling to move.
Right. And that's why they aren't willing to move, because they know there are certain protections that America come with that you ain't gonna get nowhere else.
Yeah.
There's a certain security here where you don't have to worry about just a rove of people just running up on you and taking you and beheading you. I mean, that's America. You may hate it for whatever you feel like, whose land was taken for what and what reason. And listen, I understand the history of America, but I'm also understanding of the fact that as long as I stay here by choice, and we do it every day, that
Yeah.
I participate in that, and I'm not absolved. I'm not
Yeah.
morally superior than anybody else on this planet, nor am I morally superior to anybody in this country because of the shit that we do.
As long as you're part of the system, you're as much to blame about what the system is doing to you.
Yep. If you make money on American soil, you got blood on your hands. Straight up. Straight up. Like if whether however you sleep with that at night is on you.
But unfortunately, it's leaving is hard. I mean, that's one advantage. It's one of the reasons why I never wanted to have get married to have kids, was to have the freedom to leave at the drop of a
Mm-hmm.
hat.
I know
And
that's what I love about my life is I have the freedom to just drop everything and go if I need to.
I used to move every couple of years, and I moved here and made the horrible mistake to get married and through that had a child, and now I'm anchored here. I cannot leave without giving up something. I mean, I love my
See,
daughter, and she's the best thing in the
I'm
world,
Tom
but
like
huh?
I'm Tom Likas on marriage. You couldn't convince me for anything to get married.
I'm so stupid I did it twice.
Yikes.
I fell for the old if you love me, you would marry me.
Mm, mm.
Uh, I
That's how they
know.
get you, huh?
I'm
I,
not.
I
I,
guess that's
I
how they
pride
get
myself
you.
on
Because
being
my
smart, but
thing was,
apparently I'm not so smart.
I was told my whole life, look, right? No, I would look. I tell people all the time, like I was ugly my whole life, and shit. As far as I'm concerned, I'm ugly now, and you're not gonna pull that shit on me where it's like, oh, I'm attracted to you now, when like, bitch, you weren't attracted to me when you were younger. Now you in your 40s and shit. Now all of a sudden
Yeah,
I look good. Nah, I'm good.
yeah. The
No,
trouble
thank
is,
you.
I
I'll
was
stay being what I look like. What I look like back then is what I look like right now. Ain't nothing changed.
a few back when we were talking about men and being not men, about nice guys. There's a few comments that were made earlier.
Really?
Nice guys. Nobody wants a nice guy when you're dating, but everybody wants a nice guy when you're married. And the trouble with nice guys is they tend to be meek, which is very true. Uh, and nice guys, like I said, you can take advantage of a nice guy. I mean, I've never been much of a nice
Yeah.
guy, but I've been a hard worker, and thus I made a good income, which made me very attractive because you know, I was able to provide security, so that made me very attractive.
Mhm.
I've had, I, I mean, considering how many girls wanted to marry me, only getting married twice is not too bad.
Right. No, it's
But
not. But see, here's where I feel like within the black culture, there is something about how men talk about women and how like we have this. There's this word, right? I don't know if you ever heard this word, but it originated in the black community. When I was a kid, you didn't want to get called simp. Like that was a word,
okay,
simping.
haven't heard that
And the
one.
idea is that you never heard that word?
Nope.
Yeah. So simping is the idea of you basically being a passive, weak, accommodating pussy in order to get the favor and the validation of a girl. And that means you were simping. So because there were men that were isolated either from their children or just isolated in general, because in our community, the women raise the kids, uh, the men will tell the men who simp, like, dog, you simping, and they'll clown them, they'll shame them. So there isn't very many black men who are willing to go along with that program, which is why the black marriage rate is real low. Because most people know in order to get married, most times you got to simp because there ain't too many rich black dudes in the community like that. So the only way you're gonna get married is by simping. So my question to you is, where were all the dudes around you to say, bro, why are you no get married? You make a good living. You can have girls like this every day. What you need to get married for?
Because they were all married. Well, part of the problem was all my friends were girls.
Ooh, that's a big problem, bro. That means you were the shoulder to cry on. You were the that's a whole nother issue, bro. Because I've never been like I'm not friends with females like that because I don't like being talked to like a girl. Like I don't like
Yeah,
hearing gossip and
yeah,
oh, did you hear what this person? I'm not that type of person. I'm like
yeah.
I'm on some other shit. So in my opinion, it's like if you have female friends, they will view you as a feminine energy, and thus they probably will talk to you about real feminine things. And if you're into that sort of thing, there ain't nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that.
Well, having
But
four
if
sisters, I
you're
was pretty much used to
masculine
it.
and that's not your cup of tea,
Yeah,
then you go find masculine things to do. I got into martial arts and basketball.
yeah. I had I mean, oh, lost you again.
Oh yeah, where'd you lose me?
Yeah. Right after basketball.
Oh yeah, no, I got into martial arts and basketball, and to be being around men in the army where you could still call a man out to fight, but it didn't escalate into shooting or I always tell this story. I was in Iraq and I
Uh,
saw there was a captain and the E6, a staff sergeant, right? And these two branches personnel. They don't always get along because one is like a managerial position and the other, are people who've been in for a long time, and they kind of resent the fact that these people have managerial positions after 8 years or whatever, and they've been in for 20 years or 18 years or whatever. So I remember one time when I was in Al Taqaddum Air Base in Iraq, there was a E6 and a captain that were arguing from the chow hall, and I was already out, kind of kicking it with the dudes that I would kick it with or whatnot. And I remember a circle started forming, and the E6 was like, "Why don't you take off your rank, take off them bars?" And the captain was like, "Let's do it then." And he literally took off his coat. Now they're just two men in Iraq.
Yeah.
And they got to boxing right there. Boom, 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 thumping. Doom, 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 doom. And the E6 dropped the captain, right? The dude who was in the lower rank drops the guy of the higher rank. And the captain got up and he wiped his face. And the E6 looked at him and he stood to attention and he saluted him. And the captain saluted him back. Yeah. And everybody cheered. Yeah, fuck yeah. It was so masculine that you can't even have that in today's society. You can't even pretend to have nothing like that in today's society.
Well,
that's what.
Yeah. I see a little history. I had a father who was a workaholic and a mother who was an alcoholic. My father, he was a very good provider, but I had 4 sisters. So all my friends, or not all of them, but the majority of my friends are female, but I'm not looked to as the shoulder to cry on. I'm looked to as, I'm their guy friend. I'm the protector. I'm the stand-up. They don't have a guy to stand up for them. So I'm that guy. I'm that friend. I'm the friend who's going to, I'm not the shoulder to cry on. I'm the protector friend, I guess.
And if I was your friend, the only person that you would do that around would be like me, because to everybody else, you'd be an asshole. Yeah, and the only person that, and if you were my friend, if we hung out together, the only person that you would do that would be a small circle of people, and you and me, because in my opinion, it would make you too vulnerable to prey on by the very woman that convinced you to marry. Because if you was around me, you would have never got married.
Oh yeah,
I would have been the friend she hated, because I would have told you, man, get that skanky bitch out of here. The fuck is wrong with her?
I wish I knew you.
Fuck that bitch. I would have told you that.
See, my best friend, who's a guy, but he's married and he's Catholic. He's like, oh, yeah, you marry her. You should definitely marry her. And now, he feels bad.
That's the worst. That's the worst advice he could have given you.
I know. Well, yeah, he realizes that now.
This is why you need to have a liberal friend and a conservative friend. Yeah. You need to have a dude from the city and a dude from the country, and just have them together. You have them out.
I have that now.
What'd you say?
I said I have that now.
Right.
Now I have friends who would advise me against such ridiculous behavior, but I think I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I think I've learned a lesson through you. It's funny, because when I tell people, when people ask me like, oh, you don't want to have kids, you don't want to see, it's like, no, I've seen too many of my friends get screwed over with kids.
Well, a girl I was
taking no chances like that.
A girl I've seen recently, and I was like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want a girlfriend. I don't want to get married. I just, I want to hang out. I want to do things. So we had a very good relationship, friends with benefits. And
those still cost though, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is it escalated, and it escalated very quickly. And I was like, whoa, hold up. It's not what I signed up for. And she got all pissed off and she took off. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I was very clear at the very beginning what I was up for. So I've done this. I mean, when I got married, I was like, no kids. If you get pregnant, I'm going to tell you get an abortion. I don't want any kids. And of course, when she got pregnant, no abortion. And then she hated me.
Do you ever consider getting a vasectomy?
Huh?
Do you ever consider?
I'm still very wary about such things. I
Yeah,
know it's stupid. I know vasectomies are tried and true and proven.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, I tend to I now I'm I will only date women who can't have kids.
yeah. I say you get it done and don't tell anybody.
Well, that's what I should have done. If I had done that, I'd probably still be married. But if I had still been
Why would you
married,
want
I'd
to be
probably
married?
still be unhappy. So,
I was gonna say, why would you want to be married to a person like that?
well, yeah, that's well, I realized that the only reason you want to have sex was to have kids, and
Ooh,
yeah,
listen, this is why I'm not. This is why I'm
yeah,
not. I don't kid myself, and I don't sit up
yeah.
here and tell myself, bullshit like, "Oh, you're so handsome." You're no, I know what the fuck I look like. So you're not gonna maneuver me into having no fucking kids.
Well, at least one person in comments doesn't
If
think
I've been
you're
the
ugly.
ugly nigga all my life, and then all of a sudden, when I'm in my 30s, all of a sudden these girls want to start having kids and shit, don't you think that's a red flag?
It means they've lowered their standards.
That means you weren't their
Because,
prize.
yeah, that. Yeah.
That's what that means. And that's okay.
I've
Ain't
never,
nothing wrong with that.
I've never,
Right?
I've
Like
never been called
because
ugly, so I don't know.
you say what'd you say?
I said I've never been called ugly, so I don't know.
I have. And ultimately it's a blessing because those people who call me ugly all have kids now and none of them are with the fathers. So
Yeah,
they all got babies by they all got babies by hot dudes. They all got babies by fine dudes who ain't nowhere in their lives. So great. I guess I avoided that.
dodged a bullet.
Dodged the bullet. 45
Yeah,
caliber.
yeah, it's amazing. And this goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. Women want the aggressive alpha male, and then he doesn't work out, and they have boys, and they tell him, "Don't be the aggressive alpha male. Be a nice boy," because they don't want them to be like the father that isn't around. They want him to be nice and whatever it is that you know. They want them to
Well,
be the
what you're
opposite of what they fell for.
right. Well, what you're describing, honestly, is the trap that a lot of dudes fall into. Uh, First, when you get married, I don't know if you stop being who you are, but a lot of men make that mistake. I know I've done it when I've gotten with girls and stop doing some of the things that I normally would do and all that type of shit. And to me, that's a trap. There's a trap in that in you being something that you're not. And there are so many people out there who are willing to become something that they're not in order to obtain the attention of some girl. When really, once you realize that you aren't the prize, life
Yeah,
becomes a lot easier
yeah,
because you realize there's only really 20%. Listen, if there's 20% of the guys out there that women actually are attracted to, then you have to understand that there's only 20% of the women out there who's actually attracted to you, straight up. And that's if you're mediocre looking.
yeah,
You could be a better looking dude, you could be a worse looking dude, but on average, it's like mostly only about 20% of the available girls out there are going to find you attractive. You got to understand that. Don't
yeah,
delude yourself. Don't kid yourself. Don't be like, oh, if I dress like this, if I wear these shoes. No, there ain't
yeah,
nothing you can do. Attraction
yeah,
can't be negotiated like that.
yeah. Well, the trouble in my
So
marriage
when
was,
that same girl comes around 10, 15 years later talking about, I'm ready for a family now, hell no.
well, I guess I've never considered myself to be good looking, but I've never had the misfortune of people finding me attractive after the fact, other than like from high school. They
But
found me attractive.
But the thing about you, Tom, is that you're a good dude. Like you're a cool ass dude. Like I would have loved to have grown up with a father like you. The problem is that women don't value good dudes. Most women don't value good dudes. So
Well,
they see you and they're not attracted because you're a good dude. And to me, it's like that's where I feel like attraction is a lie because we're working off of two different standards here.
well,
What I would think would be attractive for a woman to a man or for a man would be different than what a man would be for a woman.
yeah. The pitfall I always fall into is men tend to they hook up with someone expecting them not to change, and then they do. women hook up with someone expecting them to change and they don't. And that's
Wait, say that
exactly
again.
what
Say that part again, because I caught the end part of that, but the first part I
I
didn't.
say. Men tend to hook up with women expecting
Mm-hmm.
them not to change, and then they
Mm-hmm.
do. And then women hook up with a guy expecting them to change, and they don't. And
Interesting.
that's how I am. Is a lot of guys will change to win the girl, and then they will resent the fact that they had to change. Whereas I never changed,
Mm.
and they resented the fact that I didn't change.
Right. Right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, shit, man. There's so many traps out there and pitfalls when it comes to navigating the dating scene that I feel like there are certain things that boys aren't being taught about interacting with the opposite sex and all that type of stuff that I feel like um, is creating a certain level of resentment when they see how there's a double standard in how the genders act and what gender is accountable for and what another gender is not accountable for. So, and there are double standards in nature. There are double standards in society that, there are double standards for a reason.
I think that the other pitfall that we fall into is most relationships have around a 4-year lifespan, and because we've allowed religion to uh, permeate society and dictate these crazy rules of fidelity and monogamy, that we've restricted ourselves from our true nature. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Most people, you're happy with somebody for. I mean, they call it the 7-year itch for a reason. Is after 7 years, you're like, I've had this, been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for something new. Um, and I think it's even fewer years than that. I think it's true. It's 4 years. Um, and this idea of monogamy that religion has focused on. I mean, it just a lot of people. If you've ever heard the term polyamory, a lot of people think, oh, that you just you're atheist and you want to be do whatever you want to do. It's like, but it's human nature to. I mean, you find somebody that fills your needs. They don't fill 100% of your needs. They fill, if you're lucky to find somebody who fills 75% of your needs, and then there's still 25% that's not being met that you need somebody else for. And that can be another guy hanging out and having drinks, or it could be another girl who's, you know, willing
Yeah,
to do
but I
things
don't,
that you're,
but I don't hang out with girls unless I'm having sex with them, right?
unless you
I
what?
don't, I don't. I said I don't hang out with girls unless I'm having sex with them. Like I don't hang out with females, and it's not because I don't believe that they're worth hanging out with. I just know that I have very little in common with most females with what they talk about. Like I don't. I mean, what's the most likely topic that a female would talk to me about, right? Like a movie
Yeah.
or a song or something. Like that's the most common thing. But I don't like most movies. I don't like romantic comedies. I don't like, the stereotypical Tyler Perry black movies. I don't watch that bullshit. Like I watched goddamn Star Trek Deep Space Nine and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to watch that. So you want to come at me talking about love and basketball or love and hip hop? I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
And most girls that I know who are young and in shape and attractive, that's what they talk about. That's what they're into. So really, I don't really have that much to do
Yeah.
when talking to females unless we on some other stuff, and then that
Yeah.
we don't have to talk really. Her mouth is usually full.
Well, I have different kind of girlfriends that actually most of we talk about religion, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And we watch
You
movies.
know what? I miss the conversation of religion. I really do. But it's like there are very few people I can have it with nowadays and feel stimulated.
I'm constantly having that conversation. Um, because
Mm.
it never it's an evolution of my viewpoint. I mean, I'm constantly learning why I'm an atheist, and I'm
Mm.
constantly amazed at why other people are not atheists. I mean, it's this. this need for there to
Yeah.
be a
See,
God, which
I
is just
stopped
bizarre.
I stopped caring about gods once I realized that becoming atheist doesn't make you any smarter. A lot of a lot of the atheists that I know are not smart people. They believe in ridiculous shit. And these are people who claim to know science and to are evidence and empirically backed, but then will ignore science when it comes to shit on the liberal side. And it's like, come on, man. Like I'm not even with all that. Like, there are biological and genetic differences and physical traits and differences between men and women. The same differences that most people on the left would like to ignore when it's convenient in an argument about trans rights or some other shit. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, let's stop acting like there isn't an aspect of nature here, uh, that's basically dictating all this stuff.
Okay. Just to be clear, somebody asked, what religion do you ascribe to? Which is no religion.
Yeah, I'm a
Which
big fat flaming atheist.
yeah, which is a difficult thing for people to believe that atheism is not a religion, which is again a bizarre thing to me.
What the atheism is, but there are people who treat it
But-
like
oh
treat it as
yeah,
such. It may not be a religion, but there are so many atheists out there who walk around with it religiously. There are people like that, and I know
oh
atheists
yeah,
don't like to hear that,
oh,
but it's like
I know,
you got to start checking. You have to start checking people that act in religious ways about secularism,
I know,
deifying the Richard Dawkins and the Christopher Hitchens of the world. Listen, I have time with Christopher Hitchens. I spoke with him. We shared a drink together. We talked. We chopped
really
it up. I don't
nice.
deify Christopher Hitchens like that.
No, I became an atheist because I thought Richard Dawkins was an asshole. That's like
Yeah,
this
well,
is what atheism is. This guy really? I mean, Richard Dawkins taught me that I was an atheist, and I thought it was an asshole, which
mm,
and he
yeah,
was kind
I
of
know Richard too. I wouldn't say that he's an asshole. I just say
well,
our
not
American
now,
sensibilities are too sensitive.
not now. He's not an asshole. When I was in high school, when I first found out about him, he was well, he was perceived very arrogantly, and that was before I understood the kind of bullshit he dealt with every single day. Once I realized the kind of bullshit he dealt with, I thought, oh, now I get it. Now I understand why he
Right.
acts the way he does. I met him too. I was like, yeah, that's respect. Because I mean, he's
Yeah.
considering the bullshit that he's put up with, he's actually a very kind and gentle person. But
Yeah, no, he is. Like I've spent time with him as well,
before
and
I understood,
we've shared a laugh, and I remember he was getting interviewed. He was coming out of an interview as I was going into an interview. Like I had the opportunity to have Richard Dawkins be interviewed before me, which was
nice.
crazy because I was sitting out there while he was in the room getting interviewed by this TV station, and because we'd all kind of been invited to do this. So, but it was wild because he was such a cool ass dude to me. He had a warm smile. He was engaging. There was no real weird distance between us. And I know what other people say about him, but I've met the man and spoke to the man. Like I've spoke to Sam Harris. Like I had dinner with Sam Harris and his wife at the Crystal Clear Atheist Alliance convention back in like 2007 or something like that. And he's one of the most genuinely nice men that I've ever met. Just a real nice dude. Like he had a beautiful wife. She was cool. She was engaging. And I look online and everybody's talking about how insensitive and he's a racist. And it's
Was
like, really?
was
This motherfucker?
was Sam high? Because I've met him too, and he just looks like he's permanently stoned.
Really? Have
He
you
just has,
met people who are permanently stoned? Because I'm always high. Do I look like I'm always high?
no, I guess I don't have enough exposure to people who are permanently stoned, but
I
he
might.
he he fits the stereotype of what I consider. He just has that kind of
I'm perma high.
age,
Like
kind of like.
I am literally.
Of course, I spent all my high school and college. Everyone thought I was stoned, and I was never stoned. I've never done any kind of drug other than
Mm,
alcohol.
well, then you've done drugs.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. Other than alcohol, I
Yeah,
had one
for
pot.
sure.
Well, I had 2.5 pot brownies, and apparently it did nothing for me except give me dry eye. But I all through high school and college, everyone thought I was stoned because I was just out there. I'm still out there, but now I guess they're used to me.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought Sam was cool. I thought Richard was cool. I thought,
Yeah,
Dan Dennett was
Sam was
cool. I
cool,
met
but he
Julius
just
Sweet.
has that air of just kind of, and he had just been meditating, so maybe that was it. But just he was
I see.
just super mellow and just kind of just. And I get a kick out of Lawrence Krauss. He's
Yeah, I met Lawrence.
but you are one of the people, and I've for a couple of years now. It's like, why don't we see more of you? You are somebody I who should be like on the atheist conference circuit. You should be out speaking. You should be out performing. You should be. I mean, I love your music. I don't like rap music. I have no interest in rap music,
You know who's
and
responsible for
I
that?
and I love your music.
You know who's responsible for that?
For which you not being out
For,
there, or
for
your music.
Yeah, well, no, for me not being, or you said why isn't there, you said
Yeah,
me at
why?
these
Okay,
conventions.
who's responsible?
You are.
I am.
Yep. All the people who know of me, and yet there is
No,
a sentiment within
I've suggested you.
the
I've
atheist
suggested you for
organizer community.
every event that I've had anything to say on that I found out about. I've suggested you.
Okay, well, I
But
mean that
my
in a very
no,
general way. I don't mean
I know.
you specifically. What
Yeah,
I mean
I know,
is
but
the
yeah,
person who, I hear that a lot, where it's like, how come we haven't heard of you, or how come we haven't? And it's just like, listen, all people have to do is share and talk and share my music,
yeah.
but apparently that doesn't happen enough.
Because
So I'm retired. Like at the end of the day, people can do what they want to do
I
and
mean,
create what they want to create,
yeah,
but I wash my hands.
yeah. There are a few comedians, and I hate to use the euphemism of people of color, but that there are atheists who are, Steve Hill, who I love, and he gets a lot of gigs with atheist conferences, but there's lots of other atheist conferences or atheist comedians um, that I just Steve Hill and I can't even think of the white guy's name. But I mean, there's so many people out there that we keep hearing the same people over and over again, in my opinion. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear new voices, which is why I was doing, I want to do the No Old White Guys, which converted to, Atheist Diversity Highlight, which was a mouthful. But I want to see more people, especially entertainers. I mean, but we get back to why people are going to conferences, which is kind of where we
Shit.
were starting, but we never
Yeah.
quite got
Well,
there.
I guess if we were to end it with that particular subject, I would say just to open it up. I mean, really, there's so much risk going to these concerts. Like, I'm not going to these. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
going to a concert and have somebody say, "Oh, he tried to talk to
that
me," or
he touched me. He touched my shoulder.
yeah, that. It's not even
Yeah,
that. It's just talking. It's just
yeah.
talking. Like
Yeah.
I've
He
gotten
said
to the point
something to me.
now where I don't even really make eye contact for the most part. If I don't have to, like when I do interactions and stuff, I'm kind of looking down and here, I don't even want to show interest like that, because ultimately it's not a friendly environment for that. And if you aren't a 20 percenter, like I always talk about this, if you aren't a 20
Yeah,
percenter guy, then
yeah,
your best bet is to leave females alone. Like,
yeah,
don't try to talk to them. Don't try to, because they aren't for you. They're for the
yeah,
20 percenter guy.
yeah.
So
And,
leave
and
that to them.
I think I fall into the 20% because I'm known as the safe guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I can say
If
pretty
you
much
feel like
anything.
you're that, then yeah, you should.
I mean, but like I said, I come from, I've got four sisters and two mothers, and most of my friends are girls. So I guess I've learned a language that seems
Oh
safe
no,
to most women.
for sure,
But,
for sure. I personally wouldn't do it, but if you are comfortable in that particular realm, then who am I to tell you not
yeah.
to do it? Like, I'm not
Well,
one of those guys that will tell you,
yeah,
"Hey, man, you should get married or you shouldn't have
yeah.
kids." I'm just simply saying what my particular position on that
And
is. And
And
I wouldn't do it.
that is one of the reasons why I've stopped going is the atmosphere that have stopped people like you from going. It's become like something. It's like if interesting people don't want to go, then I don't want to go. I mean, just
Yeah.
because I feel safe going, just I mean, it's just the people that I want to be
Well,
around aren't
you have
going because they're
people,
afraid to go. Yes, go.
right? Well, and the thing is there is legitimate things to be concerned about as it pertains to, your reputation and well-being, in that there's trial by social media so frequently these days. The reality is anything that happens will be tried, and you'll be convicted in the court of public opinion, which has direct consequences against your family, direct consequences against your career. And at the end of the day, it's like, who wants to take those risks? I'm not taking those risks.
Yeah, that's why I'm Thomas Levi on this side of my social media, and I'm Tom Leeds in real life.
Right, right. As you should be, because at the end of the day, in this game of social media, everyone's wearing a mask, and you'd be a fool to show your true face,
Yeah,
like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to those conventions, number one, because I'm not working for free,
yeah,
and number two, I'm not going to a convention where I feel like it's not social enough for me to talk to anyone except for, guys,
yeah,
without feeling like something could be said about my interaction. And then there's this thing that's going around too, that people are saying, and men and women are saying it, where they're like, well, if you don't do anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about. And I'm like, you were the same motherfuckers that didn't have no problem with
yeah,
government surveillance, right? These are the same people that will say, well, if you don't have anything to hide, then why are you worried that they're listening in on your? Because it's violating the fucking Constitution. And if you don't like that particular document, then go somewhere where it doesn't matter. But if it matters here, then obviously it's going to bother me. So, conventions, atheist conventions, it's skepticons and all that type of stuff. You won't see me at none of those. Not that I get invited. Look, let me full disclosure. I'm not being invited. No one's inviting me or nothing like that. But if they were, I wouldn't go. So
well, you say you're not working. What are you doing with your time?
shit, living off of music. I mean, one of the good things that being a
That,
musician affords you is passive income.
that's
And I'm not the wealthiest person, but
I mean, I have
I
four.
don't have to work.
Yeah, I have four of your albums, but I think did you take your stuff off of Amazon? Because it seems like I have four of your albums, but I used to listen to the rest of it
Yeah,
on
I
Amazon.
took well,
I
here's the
need,
thing. I took my oldest albums, or I'm taking some of my older albums off of Amazon and iTunes and all that type of stuff.
yeah,
I just don't agree with the pay scale.
yeah,
The pay scale is really screwed up when it comes to Spotify and Apple Music. And I feel like if I'm getting
yeah, yeah,
25,000 plays a month, or
yeah,
I've had, there are months where I've had 150,000, 500,000, streams, and it just is not. I don't feel like they pay independent artists
yeah,
anything, and
yeah,
it's just fucked up. And if you say anything, it's like, oh, you're complaining. They're getting your
yeah,
music out there. You should be happy. It's like, no, I'm not gonna let them just play my shit for free.
yeah.
So that's why it became easier for me to just kind of like wash my hands and just be like, all
Yeah.
right, well, you
Well,
know,
I got to sign up for your site, but
it's all
I've been
good.
I've been waiting to wait until I'm working again before I start. I think I used to donate a lot of money, but since I haven't been working, I have been donating because I've got no income.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you. Definitely got to work first. I
But
mean,
I love your like I said, I don't like rap music, but I love your music. It definitely speaks to me. I've jammed out to it quite a bit. I've sent you at least one, if not a couple of where I'm jamming out to it because I your stuff it
and to
I
be
love
honest
how
with
you
you, I've always appreciated.
I love how you intermix other media, just sound clips
Mm-hmm.
from just different scientists. I love that.
Yeah, and you know what? I always thought that was unique. I always thought that was something that separated me from other artists.
Yeah,
And to be honest, it wasn't something that was really noticed by it was noticed by very few people. And I tried to be as unique and original, but as intellectual and as forthcoming as I possibly could in my creativity. So if that wasn't enough to put me over the top, then I'll go do something else with my time.
Yeah. Well, I hope you appreciate that. There's some people like me that just I adore your music. It's very creative, and I'm a very creative person. I'm a designer, so I consider myself to be very creative, and I love the creativity of your music, and just the scope is the only word I can think of. I mean, you take the world in. You've got this like world view that you put into your music that is both scientific and social and just it's humanistic. It's just really good stuff.
Yeah, I just kind of wish that those communities that I wrote those songs for would have been a little bit more supportive. But
Yeah,
you know,
I feel you there. I mean, I not that I have anything to complain about. Not that I'm putting out anything that's nearly as creative and well thought out as your stuff, but um, like my YouTube channel, it's like I've done things that like I know people like Nat Del Honey and Aaron Ra and Seth Andrews and Lawrence Cross. I mean I know I've personally met and talked to and conversed with, and they know who I am.
right? And how many
But
times have you
I
ever
don't
and how many times have you ever asked them about me?
ask you about you.
I'm
Uh,
saying, how many times have you ever asked them about me? This is the point I'm trying to
yeah,
make, right?
yeah,
Like the people who are movers and shakers in that community were
yeah,
never talked to about me in the way that people talk to me about them. Everyone
yeah.
told me about Matt Dillahunty, and everybody
Well,
told me about Arn
well,
Ra, and I knew these guys, like I met these
yeah.
guys, but
The
no
point
one
I
was
was,
telling those people
yeah,
about me.
the point
I
I
was
was
telling
getting
those
to though,
people and being a spokesperson on my behalf,
yeah,
and that's what happened.
yeah. The point I was getting to was being spokesperson on my behalf. Now I know all these people, and the efforts I've put forth in doing in videos. I've never gotten any kind of support on what I've done. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't say that I brought you up, but
yeah.
that's mostly out of
Everyone's doing their
a
own thing.
lack of, you know, this community that we strive to pretend that we have really doesn't support itself, doesn't support each other. I mean, there are a few
No, and there's
people.
certain people that they will support because they want to look like they're supporting. But at the end of the day, it's you see the evidence. You see what it looks like. I mean, I don't
Have
even
you
have to say nothing.
have you ever been? I mean, because you were, I believe, it was the Dogma Debate show, David Smalley, that I first heard your music and found out about you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever actually been on his show, or did
I
it
don't
just?
think so. I mean, I might have one time. I've been on a lot of interviews, so it is very possible. I think I have been on that show
Yeah,
one time, but those
not that
those
I.
people don't ask me to come on. They don't ask my opinion on stuff. Like all these podcasts and stuff out there, they interview all these people. Not one of those people asked. Well, very few people, asked me to do an interview about anything. And the reality is they didn't want or care for my opinion. And that's why people like me don't show up to these things, because ultimately my opinion and my consideration isn't really valued that much.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of your opinion being not valued. I think it's the opinion that, or the viewpoint that your opinion is too honest. It's an honesty that they don't want to hear. You're saying things that are, you're holding up a mirror. You're holding up a mirror that most people do not want to look into. I mean, I embrace it, but you know, not that I hold up the same mirror, but I kind of feel like I do. Yeah, I say what's on my mind, and I don't care what people say. People don't embrace me because I think I'm just gonna say whatever I want to say. I'm not worried about what people think, so I'm gonna put out content that suits me. I'm not trying to suit anyone else, and I think
Right.
that's even more true for you. you are being honest to a level that a lot of people are uncomfortable with, which is sad, but unfortunately, I think it's true that
Yeah, but we all,
you know,
but we all
it's
want to, we all, but we all want to pile on Christianity, right?
because that's an easy target.
That's why I don't talk about Christians anymore. That's why I'll defend a Christian a lot faster than I'll defend a Muslim.
But that's also easy though. I mean,
Oh
Muslims
no,
are
the
horrible.
Muslims are easy targets too, but
Well,
I find
but
that the left is tend to be in bed with
you know,
Islam more often
but
than not.
Muslims are actually Muslims are not as easy as Christians because
No, no, not nearly,
are
not nearly,
scary.
not even close.
I mean, Christians are like a clown. Muslims are,
No, they ain't scary to
Muslims
me.
will
No,
kill
they
you.
scary. No, Muslims are scary to punks,
Oh
straight
yeah.
up. No
Well,
punk ass bitch. So
but
you ain't gonna punk
but
me
most
whether
people
you
are
a
punks.
Muslim. Yeah, well, there that most people are punks. You're
Yeah.
right, and that's the thing. When you
I
grow
mean,
up, how I grew up, ain't nobody punking me. I don't care
yeah.
if you're a
I
Muslim, a
mean,
Christian, a fucking
yeah.
whatever, conservative, liberal. You're not gonna bully me. And there's an aspect of Islam that we accept their bullying.
Yeah.
And look, like I said, I've thrown up my hands. I'm a watch society burn kind of person now.
Yeah.
So y'all do what y'all gonna do. But you ain't coming at me with that shit because I'm a fight. And I will kill you if you try to make yourself a threat to me. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Do not play me like that.
I mean, I hardly
And
even
so many people
mention.
are bullied.
Yeah. I hardly
No,
even
it's all right.
mention Muslims only because they I very I have huge exposure where I live. I've got Muslims all around me. They're everywhere. And they are as secular as anyone except for their bullshit dress code. I mean, the whole thing with the hijab just baffles my mind, especially with children. I see children in my daughter's class wearing a hijab. I'm like, why the
I,
fuck is a
funny is I don't even
9-year-old
really care
girl
about
wearing
the
one?
dress code. My biggest concern with them is the fact that the more moderate side of Islam doesn't say anything about the radical side. When you got radical Islamists doing crazy and insane things in the name of Islam, and
Yeah,
then those people act as if like, oh well, that's just political, and it's like, nah, dog, like
no.
you're complicit in that shit. If I'm complicit in drone strikes because I pay taxes on American soil, you're fucking complicit in that shit. Don't try to play dumb. You ain't stupid. You know what goes on in the name of Islam. And the only people who are afraid to say that shit are people who are afraid of Islam. And I'm not afraid of Islam. I ain't never been afraid of Islam.
Well, I feel the same way because I have nothing to fear. I mean, the impact that
There are things to fear. You know what I fear? I
well,
tell people all the time. Like this is I have an irrational fear, but it's a fear nonetheless.
what do you fear?
You know what I fear? I fear jellyfish. I do. I think jellyfish are the scariest things on the planet.
uh, they do freak me out. I've been swimming
They
and I've gotten zapped a
freak
few
me
times.
out.
Knowing that there is a
Listen,
jellyfish
if
that has
if
very
Muslims
small
prayed to a
tentacles.
giant jellyfish, I'd be terrified of them. I would be.
Rather than a guy who ascended to heaven on a flying horse.
Yeah, look, man, if it was he ascended on a flying box jellyfish, I am terrified. I will convert instantly. You got it. Do whatever you tell me to do. But other than that, dog, I'm not afraid of you like that. You know what I mean? Because just as you can saw someone's head off, I can saw someone's head off too.
See, the trouble with Islam is the moderate Islam is like the super conservative Christian. I mean, there's the scale of it's completely different as far as nuttiness when it comes to Islam. Um, because the most passive, non-religious is Muslim is still conforming to Ramadan and the dress code, and where Christianity, you get somebody who goes to church once a year and they call themselves a Christian. If you call yourselves Muslim,
Right,
you're still praying to Mecca at least once a
right.
day.
But that's because fundamentally Christianity is about the belief. Like Muslim Islam is more about the behavior and
Yeah,
the actions taken in the name of uh, the belief system. Whereas in Christian, there's this old thing where it's like, as long as you have Christ in your heart, you're good. And that's
yeah,
such a slippery slope, because I can have Christ in my heart and never go to church ever.
yeah. And I deal with that all the time. Family members who they don't condemn me, but they're like, you really need to believe. I'm like, you never go to church. You don't need to go to church to believe. But it's no
Nah, I
Islam
feel
kind
you
of
on that,
freaks
man. Well,
kind of
shit.
freaks.
You got some more viewers there with some comments or what?
Well, let's see. Most people are very much enjoying this, apparently.
All right.
Let's see. To look you up,
Honestly, I would tell them not to look me up.
look up your music, YouTube and Amazon. God, holy shit! It's almost 11 o'clock. I got to go.
Yeah, I know
God,
that's
time
right.
is flown.
It is.
Well,
It
yeah,
is.
we need to wrap this up. But we should do this again. Um,
Yeah, man. Anytime.
I want your opinion though. Um, I posted my list of questions on basically things that I'd like to have a show about and people I'd like to have a show with.
Wait, you posted your what?
The list of questions,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a new venture. I gave up on the whole atheist diversity highlight. Um, too much work, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and too restrictive of a focus. I'd like to just have like this a conversation and talk about anything that comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. That's kind of how I am. I mean, I don't, at the end of the day, it's like people are going to think and believe what they want. I just want people to know that there are people out there um who aren't afraid of some of the powers that be, that a lot of people are, and that you can be you. You don't have to be intimidated by feminism, the left, Islam, Christianity. You can hold your head up high and say, listen, I spit in the face of all that shit. Fuck you. If you don't like it, then, fuck off.
Yeah,
And they can take it or leave it.
I kind of feel that way. It's like, what's the big deal? Why are you all getting all worked up about? Just
And
relax.
my last advice, honestly, is if you're a white man in America, stop apologizing for that shit. That
Yeah,
shit makes the white man look extremely weak.
yeah, and that
And I see a lot of it.
and that was some of the blowback I got that I was actually surprised at. I said, I'm a white man. I have advantages for being a white man, and I don't apologize for it. I didn't ask for it. It was handed to me. So I'm taking it. I mean, if they're gonna hand it to me, I'm gonna take it. And I had
Right.
people going,
Well,
well, until you're willing to give that up. I'm like, why the hell would I give it up? I mean,
yeah. Why would you
if you're
give that
gonna
up?
hand it to me, why should I give it up? It's like going, here's a
Especially
million
when there
dollars. Now give it up.
Right, especially when there are people out there who feel like, I don't care how much advantage he has. I'm not going to trade being a 6'8", 280-pound monster genetically for a couple $100,000 and a small dick. Like I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying that that's the case, but
Yeah.
I'm also not under the idea that just because you have certain social advantages, that
Yeah.
those are the only advantages that you can have. There are natural advantages. Guys who are tall have an advantage over guys who are short.
And
Guys who
I
are
brought
thin
up
have
that
an
too.
advantage over
Yeah.
guys who are fat. So to me, the idea that you may have an advantage,
Yeah.
yeah,
My attitude, if I have
so
an advantage that was handed to me, then I'll take it. Sure, why not? I
why
mean,
not?
why should I not take an advantage that people are willing to hand to me for no apparent reason other than their perception of me?
And listen, once you're in a position where you can hire people based on, what you want to hire people on. You can continue that particular
Exactly.
narrative, or you can go against it. If you feel like a
Yeah.
black person, or a woman, or someone of any type of protected class of today,
Yeah.
anything other than a white male,
Yeah.
if you know somebody that you want to give an opportunity to based on the merit, then you do that. But you don't feel pressured because somebody tells you that you're supposed to hire somebody of color, that you have to do that. No, you hire who you feel like is the best for the job. If that's a black person, then you hire that person. If that's come in. What up? Yeah, come in. So that's pretty much my position on that stuff.
Yeah, mine too. Right there with
But anyway,
you.
I'm gonna let you go, man. Tell your users, tell your listeners, man. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm probably gonna post it on my podcast as well, because I've been recording the whole time. So
let's get this out there. And we'll
absolutely
do it again.
All right, Tom. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks again. Bye.
Yeah, peace. Bye, everybody. What up?
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. That was a rather long, that's about almost 2 hours we're going at that. Greydon Square is a rapper out of, born in Compton, I guess, but has an atheist bent on all his music. And his music is fantastic. And this is coming from someone who does not like rap music, but I love his stuff. So definitely look him up. Few there, and I'm going to copy this thread of conversation to read it later, because unfortunately, while I'm talking, I don't have a lot of time or mental capacity to look and read and respond. So if there's something there to respond to, if you have a question, please ask me directly, and I will be more than happy to accommodate your question. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I want to copy this conversation thread before I get out of here, because once the thread is gone, the conversation is gone. I see a question. The copy. If anybody's watching at this point. Question above. Let's see. There was a black man who did not rap a poem. Who did rap a poem at a conference about slavery, and it was bang on. A black man who rapped a poem. You may be thinking of Victor Harris. Victor Harris has been to many conferences. He MCs several of them. He is a slam poet and a very talented guy. And he's one of those people who fit into the atheist community narrative. He fits in. Where Greydon, I think, is a little bit too honest. You saw, he says it like it is. He says it like it is. He is honest to the point of making people uncomfortable, and I love him for that. I really appreciate his honesty, and I wish he were more things. And I wish he didn't feel the discomfort that he feels at conferences, because I'd love for him to be there. He was at the Reason rally, so I got to hang out with him for a while, and we talked about free will and all kinds of crazy nonsense. And just a super smart guy, an amazingly intelligent man, and we need more of him. But unfortunately, he's not made to feel comfortable, so he doesn't show up, which is sad to me. I wish there were more people like him, but c'est la vie, such is life. There you go. Anyways, I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and this is Tea with Tom. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. Connie Walker, who I was with doing Packard Pokes at, she was my co-host, and Packard was the head guy. She suggested that title, Tea with Tom, and I think it's probably pretty cute. And my tea of choice, my tea of choice is not really tea. It's a rusty nail. So cheers to you. If you made it this far, 2 hours in, you're amazing. And we will do this more. And hopefully I'll get some conversations with really cool people. And let's see if we can't get a following on this. Okay. I will catch you next time. Love you all. Bye.